It's Karen and I'm so excited to be doing this video because I feel like there will be a lot of people in the same position as myself and in the same position as my friend with dogs that pull so hard it hurts your joints. And the product I'm talking about is this harness. It's such a simple thing, but it's so effective, and it has been a game changer for certainly my friend and also now for me. So let me give you a bit of background about how I came to find out about this, what has happened with us. So I have a Labradoodle, an Australian Labradoodle. He is a medium, so he weighs 17 kilograms and he's pretty much pulled since he was a puppy. And we have tried everything. He's a very good dog otherwise, but he just really pulls. But when he was a puppy, it wasn't so much of a problem because he didn't weigh too much. But as he's got to be an adult, well, on the times that I walk him on lead, I get very sore joints because it's very jerky and very tuggy, and I have joint problems anyway. And normally this elbow here for the last few weeks has actually been taped up with kinesio tape. I don't have it taped up in the moment, and that's because of this harness. My Watson is off lead a lot of the time, but the times I was noticing it was a problem is, say I was walking him to the park, I'd get out of the car, walk him to the park, and I literally couldn't wait to get him off because he was almost dragging me along, and it was hurting my arm, it was hurting my wrist, it was pulling on my neck. And just things like that. I thought it's getting to a point where there's a particular place that I walk where it's kind of, I'd prefer to keep him on lead because there is a road nearby and it's kind of round a lake and whatnot, but I'd end up trying to go around the other side of the lake and letting him off lead because I was in too much pain, and I was like, this is ridiculous, I need to do something about it. It was also actually putting me off walking him, you know, on evenings where it was dark and we weren't going to just be getting in the car and taking him to a park and letting him off lead, where he was needing a walk around the block. I'd have to say to my husband, you're going to need to do this walk because it's just pulling on my arms too much, and it's just not a fun walk. It's really just unpleasant. So go back a year, and my friend, my best friend, got a dog called Dexy, who is a beautiful chocolate lab, but he is a big chocolate lab. He's not one of those small, very tiny athletic ones. I believe he's around about 40 kilograms, and he was a rescue. And she's had a problem with him pulling ever since she got him. And so you can imagine if Watson at less than half that weight is pulling on my joints and dragging me along the pavement, you can imagine what Dexy is doing, Dexter his name is doing to my friend. And it just, she was the same as me. She wasn't enjoying walks as much. You know, things, her body was aching, that kind of thing. But what I also want to tell you about my friend is she's not somebody to rave about things. She's more like my husband, actually. We always think I'm like her husband, she's like my husband, and that's probably where we all kind of get on so well, you know. She's not, like, for example, I met her at a dog show and I was like, oh, what's that water thing you've got? Because I got water out for Watson, and I had a little carry bowl and then a bottle of water, and it was all quite a faff. Where she had, actually she didn't have it across her, but in her bag she had a stainless steel water bottle with a screw cap that was also a lid, and I was like, wow, that's amazing, where did you get that, yada yada. She's not somebody to tell me of things, whereas when if I find something, I kind of shout about it. And the reason I'm telling you that is because she told me about this harness, and not just told me about it, but offered it up. Because, you know, if I ever said to her, oh, I'm having a problem with this with Watson, she would say, oh, have you tried this, this and this? But this she offered up. Have you tried this harness? I've got this harness, it's amazing. Not only that, she told me that she had been stopping people in her local park. She stopped one lady whose dog was pulling her around the park, fitted the harness onto the dog and let the woman walk around the park with the harness, just to say, this is how amazing it is, this is how much it's changed things. So I was intrigued, of course, because like I said, it was unusual. So I went and had a look on Amazon, and I realised that I've got a harness that I use. It's an illuminated harness that we use in winter to, you know, when it's dark. And I thought, well, I'm going to switch that around, turn it upside down and use that and see if it works, because what the product we're talking about is a front leading harness. So I tried that and it seemed like it might work. So I got in touch with the company and asked them if they'd be prepared to send me one for review. This is not a paid review, but they have sent me the harness. So the harness arrived and I watched the video on how to fit it and fit it to him, clipped on the long heavy lead that we usually use. And I was walking him. I do have a little bit of footage for you as well, of course. I was walking him and it felt like it was sort of grazing the floor. It felt like it was kind of cumbersome and in his way. When I unclipped the lead, I felt like it was sort of in his way. Anyway, I then realised, I remembered the scooch and fit from the instructional video, and I moved one of the sides of this harness up a little bit, and it meant that the loop was higher up on his chest. That made a huge difference. And I was like, okay, that's much easier. It's not kind of dragging on the ground. Then I was in touch with them and said, you know, look, I'm having these issues that it's kind of dragging on the ground and it feels quite cumbersome. And she'd said that the best way of using the harness is with a light. Now, I can't remember what she called it, a snap lock. But basically the thing that attaches to the lead and the end of the lead, the thing that attaches it to the hoop, should be lightweight. So I thought I kind of needed a new lead anyway, so I went and got a new lighter weight lead. I attached this lead to it, I got the right fit, scooched and fitted it at the side so that it was correctly fitted, and it has been a dream ever since. And I honestly am amazed at how it works. My concern was that when Watson pulls, he pulls when he sees another dog, sometimes just when we're walking, and we have no idea. There doesn't seem to be any pattern sometimes. I knew that he would pull around the swans by the lake, and when he pulls, it's all of a sudden and it's very jerky, and I thought that this thing might throw him round, if you know what I mean, that he might end up facing me. But what actually happened was, it seems to, and I say this in the video, it seems to put a little bit of very gentle pressure on his shoulder and sort of guide him and let him know that if you pull, it's going to spin you around, and he stops at that point. I have never had to pull him back. It's only very gentle pressure that you have to use. So I would suggest having a look at their website. It's called walkyourdogwithlove.com. Really great information there. Let me read what he says. Dan Merson writes, we make the world's best harness and dog gear. Everything on the site is stuff I made and used with my pack of 5 dogs. I have always used harnesses on my dogs. I just hated walking them from their necks, even by my best walking dogs. It just didn't feel right in my heart, and my vet showed me some things that validated this even more. You can see why by clicking here, and there's some more information that I'll tell you about in a moment. Yes, my dogs still want to see a squirrel and the neighbours' dogs and cats, yet I have much more control, and I am not walking them from their necks. I took the idea of leading from the front from people who walk horses. I asked them, why do you walk from the front? And they told me, because it lets us steer. So walking from the front doesn't mean that they have to be behind you, because that's something I discussed with them, because I read parts of the website and thought, well, does it mean that I need to have him behind me? It doesn't. Your dog needs to be walking beside you, and it can walk in front as well. Beside you or in front, it works exactly the same. You definitely have more control, but you have more gentle control. You're not pulling on their neck and choking them. And I know that many of you will understand this when I say when Watson would pull, he wouldn't stop when he was choking himself. He would continue on. He would even go like a meerkat up on his back legs and be choking himself to try and get whatever it is he wanted. And I absolutely hated that. You know, I mentioned my joints, but I didn't mention that it was actually straining and probably damaging his neck. Here it says that the risks of walking from the neck are laryngeal paralysis, tracheal collapse, increased stress, thyroid gland destruction, heightened anxiety, esophageal injury, cervical disc damage, crushed trachea, pressure on carotid artery, pressure on jugular vein, soft cartilage damage, increased ocular pressure. So I know actually somebody that has had that cartilage damage from constant pulling on the neck. So there's so many reasons why this is good. It's good for the dog, it's good for you walking the dog, and it's just a much kinder way of being able to control them. And when we say control them, we're trying to keep them out of danger, aren't we? We're trying to stop them running into the road, running after a cat, running after a squirrel. We're just trying to stop them getting in harm's way, but this gives you a way of doing it without, like I said, choking them. Let me put the footage in now of me walking Watson, and you can learn from my mistakes. You can see actually how I started off and it was, you know, too low on the ground and a too heavy a lead, and then you can see it progressed to where I'm walking in with the harness fitted properly, etc. And it was just so much. Not too bad, is it, Watson? Apart from Mummy nearly tripping you up because it's dragging on the floor. Okay, so let's call that last bit of footage how not to use the lead, because I don't know whether you can see now. Watson, wait, look at me. Good boy. It's now further up. It's now not hanging on the floor. I didn't have this little bit up high enough. That was a bit further down, so it wasn't right across his chest. So much better fit now, for goodness sake. I did watch the video, I promise. Huh, doesn't stop you rolling, does it? But it does stop you. It's good. Yeah, this is good. Let's see. No, I don't want him to go there. Oh yeah, just pulls you back this way, doesn't it? Without being too tuggy. I'll try and take some photos for you as well so that you can see what it looks like in a still photo, and I think that should be everything. So if I've forgotten anything at all, then please feel free to leave me any comments below and ask me. I really do highly recommend this, so let me know if you do try it and how you find it. Let me know if you've already tried it. Some of you might have already tried this, and let us know, especially if you've got smaller dogs or bigger dogs, because obviously we're talking about Watson is a medium and Dexy is a large. So let us know if you've got, I don't know, a Great Dane or a Chihuahua and how it's worked for you as well. That's everything. Thank you very much for watching, and I wish you the best of luck with the no pulling, and I will speak to you soon.